time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand with your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
And we're back with another round of Brandy. If you listened to our last episode, we kind of went through some Super Bowl ads and just our observations, patterns we saw, and a couple of standout ads. And one of those was the Ring ad.
Yeah, with find a pet program, which was already active. It was free. It was like, this is just a service to have, and so far this is how successful it's been. And since then, and around that time too, it came to light that I guess they were getting a lot of backlash. Because I even remember in the last episode when I commented on it, I said, it was a good thing, but I'm like a little bit of weird Big Brother vibes. But I'm like, other than that, it's a great thing. And yeah, that idea of that ultra surveillance, because then I guess Ring has all these like contracts with police agencies and law enforcement agencies and stuff like that. And I guess there was a lot of backlash from that brand ad. Ring has canceled some of its agreements, its contracts with law enforcement agencies in light of a lot of backlash they're getting from people.
It just cracks me up because now they have AI and everything that can essentially backtrack. So if I take a picture and if the police wanted to find me, they could get that picture and almost reverse image look up how I took that picture, where I was. And of course, all the photos you take have information with them. You have cameras essentially everywhere, from traffic
law
cameras.
Enforcement are able to catch into feed.
It's really, I don't think Ring's going to, it's Big Brothery vibes and everything, but they're already...
Now, don't you have a Ring too?
I have a Ring.
Yeah.
They're already using your cameras. And it's so funny because then it's these same people who are like, Ring can't do that. And then they're like, hey, Alexa, use my blah, blah, blah. And they're talking... or Siri.
Oh my goodness.
So and I probably just set people's little speakers off because if that picks up, it's listening, always listening. But today we're not talking about that. We're not talking about government surveillance or Big Brother or your
Pets.
lack of privacy. We're talking today about your mindset as a founder or a business owner or a leader just in the organization that you are. And from a leadership standpoint, but also its impact on brand and overall just the business's kind of functionality and livelihood. And in this kind of, it's going to get, mindset. I know it gets woo-woo at times because it gets...
Woo-woo? What does woo-woo mean?
I feel like on when you say mindset, sometimes people will think of, positive thinking, positive vibes. But I do think that there is some power to actually not allowing negative thoughts or self-doubt or things like that creep in.
Well, it starts with the core of us as people. I don't think any one of you guys listening out there to us, I don't think there's anyone out there that hasn't come to a period in their life where they've had self-doubt. They've doubted whether they could do whatever's in front of them or, wrestle with past doubts and things like that. As adults, we go through that. We're constantly fighting that voice in our head that tells us we're not going to be able to do it, or this is, we just beat ourselves up mentally.
Yeah. And there's so many ways, there's plenty of books that have been written about it. Everything from scarcity mindset to abundant mindset to long-term mindset to short-term mindset to all these, you see it come and go, right? And to me, it's very interesting because when you do see the words people use in their life or how they describe things, you can tell a lot about their philosophy. And to me, words are a powerful thing where someone's word selection or how they talk about something or describe an event in their life, you can really see the frame that they're putting around it, and whether that is like, yes, some people are more victim mindset, they're more poor me, and whatever it is, right? There's always something going on in their life. They're always complaining about something or like that. And then you meet those people who are almost the exact opposite, where they're always kind of upbeat. They might be kind of pursuing something. They're always kind of driving towards something. And that to me is the same thing that goes into entrepreneurs and founders and business owners or leaders, where you do get different mindsets. And a lot of that self-talk, whether it is that self-doubt or what was popular is that whole imposter syndrome, right? That was tons of headlines about that in all the business.
Well, again, in that pursuit of being distinctive, right?
Yeah.
You're in your pursuit of doing that. There's pressures. You're going against the grain. You're going against where everyone around you is going, dude, what are you doing as a business? This is crazy. And to the point that if you're doubting it yourself, then you're not empowering your business to press through that, because in order to do that, you have to have longevity. You have to be, you have to have determination as a business owner to push through the times when, as a business, you're going to be having self-doubt. As a brand, you're going to be having like, you know what you want to do and what you maybe need to do to become a great brand, but it's your self-doubts or, listening to too many voices either inside your head or outside that, that are trying to sway you, whether you can believe in yourself. It's that kind of like the little train that could. It's like, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. If you struggle with self-doubt and you're a business owner, chances are, as the business owner, not you personally, but as the steering the business, you're going to have self-doubts about what you're doing as a business.
Yeah.
You'll be second guessing everything. You're going to be, and even if you have a plan enacted, you may not be following it because you're not believing it wholeheartedly to be able to commit with determination and therefore effectiveness.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, where's that coming from? Where's that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome or just those thoughts coming from? It's like a lot of it is actually your brain going, oh, this is uncomfortable. This is, either you're experiencing pain or there's potential pain on the other side of this. You're doing something that's out of line, like Scott was saying. You're doing something that's distinct. You're not following the rest of the crowd. And we've talked about that a million times on this podcast of when you do follow herd mentality, it's actually going against what your business should be doing. And as a brand, it's like you need to be striving for the distinction. You need to be cutting through. Yes, there's going to be slip-ups, there's going to be failures, there's going to be little doubts and everything along the way, but you keep going even though your body is telling you, hey, you're out of line, you're doing something that could potentially cause issues down the road, but that's just the kind of, your system's kind of overly sensitive to any risk, right? And we talk about that too from a consumer standpoint, is that when you're marketing, it's like humans don't like change, they don't like risk. Everyone is very not risk tolerant. And so being able to then go, okay, override those kind of natural signals you're getting as a leader and that self-doubt and being able to keep pushing forward and going, no, this is best for the brand, because it's like counterintuitive where what's best for the brand is actually going to go against what your nature is pushing you towards.
Yeah.
And actually, coincidentally, I'm reading a book by Scott Adams, who he's the cartoonist for Dilbert. And his book, I think it's like How to Fail at Everything and Still Succeed or something like that. And his writing is really funny, which he just passed away like last couple of weeks. And
did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His writing is hilarious. And that book has actually been picked up a lot in the kind of the business circles and leadership circles. And he just goes through his whole life and all of these just failures, these things that he thought were going to work out. And then when he started kind of messing around with cartooning and just all these things, and he goes through, yes, he does have self-doubts. He had all these things. And when Dilbert first got picked up from a corporate job that he got fired from, he started having these concepts of this corporate, little frame by frame. And he would read, Peanuts, and he was just like so amazed by how beautiful the cartoon was. And then this newspaper picked him up, and he was so scared about, how do I get the color to be in the lines, right? He's like, I looked at Peanuts and it was so just in the lines and crisp. And he's like, I was freaking out about it. I was telling myself I'm way over my head, and he's having all these awful thoughts. And then he finally talked to the printer, and the printer's like, oh no, you just tell us what you want the color to be, and we print it. And he was like,
I was gonna say, what the?
well, because he was using a Wacom tablet at the time, and he's like, how do I designate the color? How do I stay within the lines? There must be some trick to it that I'm not getting. And he started having he's beating himself up, right? And I was like, it's so funny because you can relate to that, where you kind of become your own punching bag, where you start beating yourself up. And it's like, no, you have to ask questions and get involved. And just the premise of the book is genius of, yeah, you do have these failures, and success is part of failing. It's part of that. It's not the opposite. And that's where a lot of, business owners or people who don't start businesses kind of fall, where they think that failure is the opposite of success, when it's part of success. It's the stepping stones to success. So, overall, to me, it's like going to the mindset of words reflecting the philosophy, right? And then that goes into business of, yes, even the culture of the business internally is derived from the language that you use. And externally, the culture, the brand, how it's perceived, that's reflected from the philosophy, from the language you use.
Yeah, yeah. that wording, that, because I think like you talked about the, the choice of word. It's like how you're framing that. That's part of how you're framing your brand, and that can bleed into the some of your brand's messaging to help support and reinforce that perception. Because if it's the self-perception of the brand, it's going to also be the external perception of the brand. As a brand, as you go through this process, right, of figuring out what's working with your brand and business and what isn't, that success and failure Reilly was just talking about, that's going to help weed out so that distinctiveness of the things that about your business that will separate itself.
Yeah, and a lot of it will look risky. It will, even like I think we talked about before with that mac and cheese, Kraft mac and cheese, when they changed their recipe. And they pretty much didn't tell anyone that they were getting rid of certain artificial ingredients and whatnot. Making
it, more healthy or more wholesome, right?
And then they rolled it out, and then essentially months later, then they came out with a campaign going, hey, you're just part of the biggest taste test, and we passed. Like,
because no one knew a difference, and there was no change. People didn't go, why does mac and cheese taste differently? Because guaranteed if they perceived, oh, it's so much better, it's going to taste different. It's going to taste more healthy. It's
I'm sure
taste like Kraft mac and cheese.
I'm sure that idea got a ton of pushback. That was probably very hard to, just like Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, all these brands that we talk about. It's like they get pushback after pushback because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem, like Rory Sutherland talks about, is how the creative, marketing, brand, all these things has to be approved by the financial department. And it's not the other way around. Financial decisions don't have to be approved by the brand and marketing department, right? By the creatives who actually can find more cost-effective ways to do something. So sometimes it is better to go about something in a creative fashion than that could look, quote, risky, but doing it to actually...
It'll pay off in the end.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I just feel like I think that's why it's such an uphill battle, is that it's because it is counterintuitive on all fronts. The creative brand, all of that is just like long-term thinking, and you're investing and you're putting in the reps to actually build up the compounding. And, frankly, it's like brands don't grow past the language that's being used. If you're using short-term kind of language, short-term mindset, all these things, the brand won't actually ever grow past that because there's no vision. It's being cut short.
And even just a good example of kind of sticking to that not assertiveness, but dedication to what you want to be. And that's the same thing like with self-improvement. I think people that want to get in shape or something, they picture that new you, right?
Yeah.
That you with that, maybe it's more muscle or slender, toned, whatever, right? People that go through a physical, that's what they picture, and that's what drives them when they're going through the hard times, right? So with the same type of determination, brands that have done that, and I'm going to bring it up again. I know we brought it up a couple episodes ago just as a reference, but when In-N-Out was forming and stuff, it was blowing up, but he was all about natural ingredients. He was about nothing canned. He was like fresh. Everything was fresh, and that was the model. And all these people that wanted to, as the business was growing, they would come and say, "Look, you could drop your costs here. It could, bigger profits. All these things if you just switch this one little component, switch how you do something." And he kept he heard all the voices saying, This is what everyone else is doing. Like this is just
right.
Do this. You're saving yourself. You're going to be actually making more money. You're going to be doing this, blah, 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 blah. You're getting popular. It was all these other voices. And he just had the resolve to press through and stuck it out and went against that because he saw what he wanted to do and he knew what was important for his business, for him. He knew it was important to himself, and it was important to the business, and therefore it was important to the brand.
Well, and that's a good point because even like standards, his standards, Harry Snyder, I think his name is, the founder of In-N-Out, the standards that he was stuck on, right? And again, this goes to a lot of good founders where they have these crazy standards of quality, of product quality, of ingredient quality, or whatever it could be. And that standard, it's almost derived, again, from the language. So the language that he had locked in this, then that kind of painted the picture of this vision of In-N-Out and him being pitched all these new technologies. Like hindsight 2020, right? Yeah, you shouldn't freeze French fries. You shouldn't do these things because it doesn't make the best quality and all these things. But at the time, that was all new technology. So you had all these, fancy, flashy tech companies at the time coming to them going, hey, we can do this now. You can grow it like this. We got, the warmer lights. Those were new where you could put those out and have food stay warm and all these. And as as a business, you might be like, oh, that makes sense, or it makes us look a certain way. And he denied all of that and kept going. And it's just, it's fascinating when you do see how much really even that example where his mindset then grew this brand. And it wasn't a short, like that's what I think is so hard about it, is that looking back again, is that, yeah, In-N-Out is a very successful burger joint and brand, but it was because of those small decisions along the way that then compounded. It was nothing. It was nothing explosive.
And it's always interesting too, because I know we talked about like how the founders of great brands, right? Whether they are multi-generational, whether it was 50 years ago, and whoever's running the company, right? A lot of times it's not the founder, but a lot of times when it's the founder that kind of sets the tone, and that's what maybe if it became a successful business because they were doing something different, but it was they birthed that. And so a lot of times if businesses are just kind of in meandering land, right? And they want to go back to the greatness that it used to be. Maybe the start is to going back to seeing what were some of the principles, what was some of the founder, what was his vision of it, and because sometimes that can get off track. We've seen that with big corporations, whether it's is and has Disney always been run as a corporation, as a company, true to how Walt would have done it? Maybe not. I don't know. That's just an example that popped in my head of that type of thing where maybe, it's like for people that run the business, it's like there can be greatness going back to the founder.
Right.
Because they set the tone, like you said.
Yeah. And like we said before, it's like it's in that DNA where then it starts to then permeate the rest of the company where, oh no, we do things like this and this is how we do this. And then yes, that's all internal speak and that's all kind of company culture, but then that does kind of go outside. That does become the brand and the perception, and just kind of becomes much bigger than just a mindset.
Yeah.
So if you're having doubts or self-talk, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or man, I'm way over my head, just keep punching and keep going at it. And yes, you can do some self-reflection, but it's sometimes it's good.
A funny idea. We should just like open a helpline, like a live helpline. It's like, an anonymous caller. They give themselves a nickname. It's like a Dear Abby. It's like, tell us what are your woes, and we just kind of.
That would be kind of fun. But thanks for listening, and until next time, cheers.
Cheers.